So we're now recording the screen, and let's see if I can add yes the. It just says I can remove you. Okay, so we'll just go ahead. So I'm going to present, if that's all right. And what I'm going to present, we've got 25 minutes to kind of go through this. So I'd like to kind of show you our software, and then we do like a little bit of a demonstration, and especially on a new feature. Now, this software is not fully released yet because there are still bugs, and if you're afraid of bugs, then you know, this is not the call for you. So this is not a shiny piece of software. That's why we are looking for some people to help us to iron out the kinks, and but I think that you guys will be impressed of how far it's come along and what the capabilities are versus some of the other systems that are out there. And so with that, I'm going to share my screen, and we'll get going. So in a nutshell, I'll just open the application here. So this is essentially the tool that we have. I'm going to have to go back to the screen there to allow the person in. And so this is our current sort of version where we're at. This version is it's getting mildly stable, and I'm pretty sure that within a couple of iterations we should have one that is basically more or less, you know, totally ready for public consumption. And there's another person who wants to join. So I think on the last one we kind of looked, we had this generate single model feature, and we sort of looked at that, and I think it was previously called bulk model generator, but we've made some modifications to it, and so really I think what I'd like to do today is maybe just play around with this, and then we can kind of see. Now, it's possible that because some of this code is so like kind of new that they're, you know, and can be a little bit unpredictable at times. You know, getting these models to behave exactly the way you want is not always easy. So we've kind of changed the strategy when it comes to this portion of it, which is sort of like full application generation, from not necessarily like adding individual models and adding attributes and so on, but rather just kind of like you're gonna sort of go ahead and try and trust the system to come up with something reasonable. Okay, and now you'll notice over here it's like in terms of ink. So the way our system works, we do some calculations through our own models, but we also aggregate out to other partners or other providers of and we sort of mix and match the answers and aggregate them together to get the result that we want. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to, you guys, if you'd like to drive, if somebody wants to change some parameters to see, it's not like canned or something like that. This is all going to be done by the machine. So the one that we're going to try maybe, so I think we did last time we did a neural network, but I wasn't really happy with that. Maybe do something a little bit more fun. So it is an application to track space, or we'll say near Earth objects, their trajectory, velocity, time, and then we also want to track shuttle launches, their date, trajectory, and alert broadcasts for potential collisions. And then I'm just going to try and create the application. I don't know if that's enough models. Maybe we need one more or something. It should try to fit it. Now, when I run this, it's gonna be. One of the things we don't have done yet is kind of like a fill up bar or something to show you that it's working. So I'm gonna just move the application, and you'll be able to see like in the background kind of what's going on. So I'll put my IDE. Where is my IDE? Here, and we'll put this here. So you can see it's working here, giving us it's deciding about like what it thinks it needs in order to create a program that covers this sort of like situation, right? So it's got a collision alerts object, broadcast alerts. Now I will say this, it definitely doesn't always get it perfectly right, and sometimes they're really funny and they don't make any sense. But if I was working on a program and I wanted to build one, I mean, maybe this might not be too far off. Let's see, did it? It did. I'd like to see some more data on my object velocities and so on, but we've got our trajectories here. Shuttle launches, near Earth object. Okay, date of discovery, velocity. So it's come up with these guys. Now the ID and name, these are two fields that are sort of like GenPen specific. They're not created by any AI. They're required in order for some other features to work correctly. And object time, I don't know if I think so. Based off what I've seen here, there's a few here that I might want to like modify them, like to include stuff like maybe the velocity X, Y, and Z. So I would just probably kind of go ahead and try to modify them. Now I can see already that just based off this, that there's going to be a problem, I think, with the schema in here somewhere, and I'm guessing one of the objects here, I'm not really sure which one is location, or one of these guys is going to get us trouble when we try to generate. And it looks like it's going to be, so it's, I'm just checking this. So here's our model. I'm going to simplify this so that hopefully it will just work for us. I'm going to drop that object. I'm going to drop this one. And let's see. Okay, I think we're okay. So I dropped them so that things should work the way that we want them to. So I'm going to save it, and then I'm just going to publish, and it's going to run again. It's doing stuff in the background here. It should publish without error, although it's possible that it's going to. No, there was no error that time. So if you're familiar with Swagger, we should have. It's possible I might have to like log out and log back in, but we should have our different objects here. So we've got our schemas are here, okay, generated for us. But looks like some of these are, or all of them. Some of them are empty. Just see. Broadcast alerts. So, yeah, some of these are empty. Near Earth object. And here's our near Earth object. Oh, here, down here. So this one is in here. And it should have generated us some documentation for us as well, right? Like our documentation. And then if I go back to the thing here, I may need to actually, okay, I'm just going to exit for a second and just get, there's somebody just wanted to come in. I don't know how to, where they went. I heard somebody's bell ringing. But, okay. Okay. So I don't know if there's other people is using companion mode. Okay. Not sure what that means. And I'll just go back into the program and hopefully it'll just load up properly. Okay, and we should have been able to generate out our models. Okay, so like we have our near Earth object. This guy here is sort of set up. Now this, we haven't written any code yet. Like we just wrote that original prompt, and so I think that kind of should give you an idea of where we want to go with it. We do have like a UI UX component that is being worked on that sort of fits. I would describe it sort of. If you guys have, I don't know if anybody's worked with DALL-E. Has anybody used the DALL-E program here? Maybe I'll stop presenting. And we can go to maybe a conversation mode if you guys want to. We've got a few minutes left here, so just if there's any more questions. Does anybody have any questions on what they've seen or any interest in, is this something that you, or maybe here's another way of putting it. Given that once you've got your models, so all I did was I put in a single line of text, right? And then the AI sort of is going to be deciding some structure for our objects. We can select to change, what language we want to use, what we want to generate it in, whether we were trying to create a client or we're trying to create like a server. In this case, the version that we're going to be launching with, is going to basically be a Java using the JAX-RS spec embedded Tomcat, but we should rapidly be able to support the other platforms. Out of the box, we've got support for MySQL. It's not here in this list, but since MySQL and Postgres are so similar, Postgres will be up there. Oracle, we don't have any optimizations on Oracle yet, but we're looking hopefully to bring somebody that can help us in that area. Firebase again is very similar to MySQL in terms of the syntax. There's some differences, but obviously, and then these other schemas are quite different, but they're not as far away as you think. So the application also generates all your database schemas to match, and so we're going to be adding another panel in here, another tab to basically give you access to your schemas. And I'll see if I've got that window already open. It doesn't look like I have it open at the moment, so I'm not going to go digging around my my computer to find if you can believe me that it's there. And I'll just go back. And so again, thanks very much for coming. And I mean, we can modify this some more if you'd like to. You know, if we wanted to change this, we could just go ahead and you know, add things as we wanted to, and provide the data types and give things, you know, an initial value. And I'm sure you guys are familiar with, or some of you maybe this is the first time you've seen Open API. So this is kind of the idea, right? So you have your, you know, you have your schema, and rather than, you know, writing everything directly from your like writing everything in code, we're using a schema to start, and then generating the code. And now in this case, we're using some AI to sort of predict like how maybe what kinds of objects and what things maybe need to be there, and you can allow it to get quite you can add, if we wanted to add a lot of attributes, for example, like give it a lot of space to run, you know, I could put in, you know, 39 models and attributes, and it will go through there, and it will try to create that many models and that many attributes, and you know, it's kind of neat. And this is a new feature to the program that I like, and I think that I think this has some opportunity to make application building a lot easier. I don't know if you guys disagree, but I mean, this seems like pretty simple way of doing things, you know, as opposed to like how I've been working in the industry for like 20-30 years, and that we never had something like this, you know. I mean, we started with like Notepad, basically it was a fancy Notepad essentially, you know, in the early days. So to be able now to in this day and age to just, you know, sit here and say, okay, I'm going to give you 5, or here's 6, not 76. Here's 6 was, you know, application to track bowel movements. Right? Like I would be sitting there scratching my head about, okay, well, how am I going to organize this? What's required? You know, and maybe giving some actual thought to this about like how I want things to be set up. And you know, whereas now it's just if it's once it's going right, it should be able to approximately figure this out. It's not exactly necessarily the best application, but you know, it's thinking about it, what models it wants to have, and it's kind of more. It's got a patient and maybe blood and stool. So it's thinking about it, and okay, so it's got, this is the application that came. All I did is type in, you know, application to track bowel movements, and I don't know if this is. It looks like it was not able to fill these in, but am I, or am I not? Oh. Oh, geez. Logan, you should have told me earlier. Okay, well, yeah, so Yeah, so I think like what we're hoping to do, because when we put up that posting on LinkedIn, there's just so many people with so much background and experience. It became like an impossible task to read like 300 resumes. We didn't want to just go and assume that that people don't know anything, because everybody that's there was very well qualified and had great backgrounds or coming from incredible places in the industry and great schools, and so we wanted to sort of try and flip the focus and try to find, by doing something like what we're doing here, where we can find a group of people that are actually interested to work with us, that are interested in this specific product or this specific technique of developing software. Instead of like the traditional method that is been done. But I'm really curious to hear, like, because you guys are the industry professionals, so what would you say is, like, what do you guys feel like in terms of what you saw in the space shuttle? Unfortunately, I thought I was sharing my screen on the Battle application. I can redo it, because it'll only take a second. And this is really, I try to keep it to 25 minutes, but I can rerun it. It didn't take a lot of time, but maybe I'll just run this, and then if you guys want to go off mute and make a comment, or say, what about this? So this time, maybe instead of that, we'll just keep it. I'm going to keep this one a little simple. Say application to track, I don't know. What's fun? Track what? Cigarette. I don't smoke, but consumption per day, calories per day, whatever, and just leave it, let it go, and it'll sit there and think about what it thinks that might look like, and so just to go back to the group, is this of any interest to any of you guys in terms of, like, obviously there's more work that needs to be done in order to make this work on a grand scheme, right? But so this is, in my mind, this is a great way to kind of start building an application, right? So because you're not doing any work really, and it kind of gives you the good framework, and we have some ideas towards where we can actually use AI to insert prompts into the actual methods so they can go back and actually even write some of the code, like for the individual methods, and make this thing make sense of itself. We've done experimentations also with generating JUnit or test cases that can test for certain outcomes and so on. So I think there's a long runway of capabilities, and I think that this is a great tool for speeding up development. And with that, I am going to go now. I'll just go back to turn that off, and just if there's any questions, then I'll answer them now. Otherwise, I just want to really thank you guys for showing up. You took 30 minutes out of your time to come and join the call. And so I want you to know that I really appreciate it, and I really appreciate everybody for applying. And so anybody that filled out that survey, we're going to send out another sort of document. And then for those people that are interested in taking a look at the system, making some critiques, maybe thinking about how you might be able to help us develop it further, or if you see something that's a total show blocker, that hey, this thing exists over here, then that would be great information. And if not, then go ahead. Just ask away, please. You don't need to. A little bit quiet. Maybe volume up a bit. Hello? Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah. Yeah. So I won't go into the full detail of it because we're right at the time there. But we have there is essentially every time when you create a new project, it creates a new Git repository for that project, and then one of our to-dos. Again, there's a lot of to-dos, but one of them is attaching, Git add and commits with messages and pushing. When you make significant changes, right? So if I was adding an attribute to this, I won't call it that. You can't have two names, but I think that was your question, right? Is how can you do that? Well, that should give you some idea. I mean, it's pretty much just duplicate, and it should come up with another one. Oh, sorry, I did it again. All right, I will let everybody go, and I'll just turn my screen back on. But feel free to go, and if anybody wants. Yeah, the Discord is just there for convenience at this stage, right? So if you filled out the survey, you'll get the invite for the stuff, and then we're just gonna. I think we're kind of looking for people that are interested and want to contribute, and that's kind of one of the main metrics that we want. We don't want to just hire somebody that is just here to pick up a paycheck. We want somebody that wants to work on this because they're interested in it and they think that there's a future for this kind of tech. I don't know if that helps make sense. Okay, then thanks, guys, and I'll hang on here. I'll stop screen recording, and then if there's any questions that are outside of that, I'm just gonna save.